All right. Classic Mix-Up, episode 5. We're going. Hello, Riley. How are you?
Everybody. I'm doing great. Rosario, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm great. We're gonna do this really professional intro, okay? I'm Rosario.
Yeah, dude.
Say your
I'm
name.
Riley.
Yeah, there we go. This is
go.
Classic Mix-Up podcast. There we
got
go.
Production hikes.
Yeah, everyone knows who we are now. So if you're watching on YouTube, watch on YouTube.
Yeah, watch on YouTube.
You get to see
on Spotify and iTunes and all that kind of stuff. We do our YouTube podcast has our faces.
You just see our pretty faces. You just see Riley's mustache.
And my crazy hair.
Yeah, and his crazy hair, yeah. And my dirty room.
Hat.
Yeah, my hat, always. Yeah, if you're not watching on YouTube, you have no idea what just happened, and I'm not going to say what I just put on the screen. You have to go figure it out yourself.
It's the first minute of the podcast. You can
first minute of the podcast, so yeah, at least watch that and subscribe, and
you get all the links, that kind of thing.
Yeah, hit the links. I worked hard on the links, so
yeah, we tried.
Fuck up the links, yeah.
It's fun.
We have fun here. Anyways, how's it going, man?
Dude, it's been crazy. I'm throwing a impromptu Halloween party on Friday.
Oh shit, that's cool. Where at school or at home?
At home.
Nice.
So I'm gonna be home anyway, visiting friends. So
cool.
I was like, Will was like, hey, I'm gonna be home. Do you want to do something? I'm like, well, I'm going to this party on Saturday, so he's coming to that party with me. But then I'm like, do you want to? He talked about doing something like a cookout thing party, Halloween party. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I can throw it at my house. Huge undertaking because Will, like,
of course,
it's like, we could do something, and then it's nothing.
Like there's like, yeah, and then the night of, it's like, oh, I invited 30 people.
Well, yeah, because I don't know, like, I invited people.
Shout out Will, man.
Yeah, shout out Will,
honorary third member.
As always, I invited 3 people, or I invited a bunch of people from Ann Arbor, like my old roommate, and a couple of his friends, and my girlfriend's coming, and she's inviting a couple friends, and like, so I know those people are coming. But I don't know if anybody from home is coming. So I had to message everybody. I'm like, hey guys, you guys want to come? Will's cooking food. Like, we're going to have
that's all you need to say, man.
Costumes encouraged, but not, we're just going to be chilling inside, hanging out,
Cool.
So it's really small and impromptu, but it's I'm excited.
That's fun, man. I wish I could go. I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, man. I missed Ben Reaper 3 listening party, dude. Now I miss your and Will's Halloween party. It's like, I know, man. Anyways, I don't know. Nothing exciting going on over here. Just playing Overwatch, going to school.
Yeah. Dude, yeah.
Living life.
Thanksgiving, though. You're invited to
Thanksgiving, man. Yeah. Hell yeah. Big things happening on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that'll be a big party for everybody. So
yeah.
I'll be cooking. I think Will's cooking too.
Bet.
Yeah, dude. So that's kind of life right now. Just hanging.
Me too, dude. I've been spending every waking moment waiting for Classic Mix-Up, just like all of our viewers.
Yes, all the viewers are asking me. Everybody that I know, my life.
I know. I get my hundreds of followers in the Classic Mix-Up pod, Twitter. They DM me, Rosario, when is the next episode coming on? Like, you guys know it comes out Friday at noon.
Friday at noon.
Everywhere you get your podcast for the most part, I think.
Yes.
But yeah,
we work hard on that, trying to get it out everywhere.
We do. Yeah, you wanna go for it? You wanna do our actual show?
Yeah, let's get into it. We can get into it.
Yeah. So we got a couple albums for you this week. We've got Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, indie rock album from Wilco. We've got a heavy hitter on the back end, Blonde by Frank Ocean. I think we're gonna start with the Wilco album. This was Riley's album he gave to me, so yeah, you go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so Wilco is I believe I have none of my notes up right now, but it was Wilco is one of those classic indie rock bands, or you could even say they kind of get thrown in with Midwest emo, kind of like the modern baseball, like American football. Well, American football is more like.
Yeah, we had this conversation last week.
Yeah, we had this exact. But
Riley doesn't know the difference. Call that a classic mix-up. Roll credits.
Yeah, I'm always mixing stuff up, but I know the bands. I listen to the music, but I don't remember the bands.
Anyways, sorry to cut you off there.
Wilco kind of falls into more like indie or Midwest emo. I would say they're more very contemporary. I knew a couple of their popular songs. I think the most popular song is Jesus, etc., which is off of this
sir.
album. And that was like my introduction to them way back in middle school. And then like I got reintroduced to them with my girlfriend, who I listen to music with her a lot. So she's like, "Oh, listen to Wilco." I'm like, "Dude, I listened to Foxtrot like way back in like middle school." So she's better. Like I like this album because it's really contemporary. And I don't know if that's a good thing though. I think we kind of talked about this before the podcast of how like the two most popular songs on the album are your favorite and they are also mine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic when you have an album that is, like you said, contemporary and has fan favorites be the same as the hit songs, because, well, and also I think it's a thing of like in a lot of modern music creation with record labels and stuff like that, you need a hit single. I mean, obviously that's a pretty well-known fact. So a lot of people who aren't fans of the artist might only hear that hit single. But I feel like for like an indie rock band, that wouldn't be the case. I think when you have bands like this, you have a wide range of favorite songs among the fan base. And I don't really know the fan base well, but you and me agreed that our favorite songs are their two most popular songs, which are Jesus, etc. and Heavy Metal Drummer.
Yes.
So,
which I was going to bring
and those songs are amazing. No knock on the album for the most popular songs being the best. I mean, obviously the band can't control that. So,
no, and I think like listening, I listened to the album all the way through for the podcast today, and listening to it all the way through was like the like artistic direction of this album is so indie that it kind of
it's almost like extreme.
Well, it suppresses the best parts of it, like the almost like the off beats like throw you off a little bit. Like even in the first song, like I'm Trying to Break Your Heart, like on the intro beat, you're like, what's this? Like, and
do you think they're like trying too hard in some ways?
I don't know. Like, is it like, I don't want to be intentional. They're fucking emo, or like they're too emo, but it's a great album. Like it
is. It's good. It's pretty weird, as we've described. It almost feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be, but in that way, it kind of checks a lot of boxes though. So you have a song like Heavy Metal Drummer, and then you have a song that's like creepier and darker, something like the intro song where you're like, I don't really know what I'm listening to. Like I said, it kind of checks a lot of boxes. And it does a lot of things that I like. I mean, this is an album that I'd say is right down my alley. I mean, I think you would agree.
I thought you would like it. That's why.
Yeah, I did. I liked it a lot. Yeah. I've never checked out any of their other stuff before. This is my first time.
All of their music, dude.
I was going to say it seems like I want to get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. They just released a deluxe for this album as well. So
I saw, it's like 50 songs
that when
long.
I listened to it today.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't. I gotta listen.
I gotta set aside an appointment for that shit. I think it's got to be at least 2 hours.
I gotta I'm too busy to listen to that whole.
I mean, honestly, I can barely listen to the albums we have to listen to. It's 4 hours. Like, I mean, it's a good album, but the only album that I'm listening to 4 hours deluxe is maybe Blonde. So we'll talk about that later.
Clara.
But Clara. God, I get the fucking. I can't get into this, but obviously I get the Claro throwbacks on my timeline. Like there's so many gimmick accounts that just post old pictures of Claro. Like, how does the algorithm know to show me this? I want it to stop because
right.
It's trying to scroll in peace. But anyways, one thing I noted is that it has that like we talked about it. It's super indie and it's almost trying too hard. Where he has that super kind of creepy, low key, like almost indecipherable delivery. I mean, there's some songs where I genuinely can't understand what the guy's saying. Reminds me of kind of like a Tom York or even Jeff Magnum type thing. It just has that weird vibe and that undertone of like it's a little hard to understand, like literally sonically hard to understand. But I think that also gives it a quality that they were going for. I mean, again, I don't know the artist's intention with a lot of these decisions. But I think by making it sound like that, it kind of just gives it its own character. And this is back in 2002 or 2001. That's a really common thing that we've seen since then is artists trying to give their work an intentional kind of low quality sound to it to kind of build that atmosphere and that kind of feeling. But at this period in time, it was a little less common, I want to say, and it was kind of a staple move in the indie scene. So I guess that's why we might think of this album as like an essential, very generic sounding indie album, even though it's a good album. It's not generic sounding. It's just fits the derivative of indie albums at this time. That was a lot of word soup. I don't know if that made sense to you, but yeah,
no,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I've said this like, but I just think that it's a great indie album for like the history of indie because it kind of like shifts. Like it's like, you know, beginning
that's I guess what I was kind of getting at.
2000s. It's kind of like one of those like first like Midwest indie, like kind of emo, borderline emo albums that are like still folk and contemporary. But that also like, I think it also puts itself in its own category by doing that, which is something that like you can see try to be imitated by like people like Mac DeMarco, even who like I don't even know if he's inspired by this album, but like you listen to like 2 by Mac DeMarco, and there's a lot of like the waning like guitar and that kind of thing. Like it's the light keys, and I can definitely see the inspiration of like modern day indie and like has that they've gotten from like Wilco as a band, because a lot of Wilco's music is a little different throughout the years too, but they still keep that kind of like root in like indie and emo and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that might be why this album is so high regarded, because it almost feels like a bridge between, like I said, yes, it feels like a sort of derivative of the indie scene at this time, but it also kind of does its own thing and goes its own route and is probably inspirational to a lot of artists. I mean, obviously we can't confirm that really, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. And I will say it got better for me as I went through it, you know, as it got later in the track list, I started enjoying it, perhaps understanding it more. Unfortunately, I didn't have like enough time for a second listen where I really dissected it, so I don't have too much to say, but I think I'm really going to like it on the second listen, which I am going to give it.
It's a great like ambiance record. Like if you were to have like a studio loft apartment with a record player and a surround sound, and you threw this bad boy on the
it'd be super cool.
It'd be like, oh, you know, I'm gonna like, let's like hang out and like chill and like talk about like movies and art. And I mean, like,
we should listen to this next time we hang out in the summer when we just sit outside for like hours.
Yeah, dude, that'd be great.
It's a good. I feel like it's a good fall album though. Maybe it's because we're in fall right now, because I think I said this last week about the Patrick Sweeney album, but I don't know. This album just feels very kind of like it's not. Like I get the vibe from it. I don't know. It's a really somber album.
Yeah,
so it kind of reminds me.
And that's totally because of me, because I listen to certain types of music in the fall. I mean, like I think that's just most people listen to like different types of stuff throughout the year. Like I listen to more like flowy music, I guess, like Patrick Sweeney or even like Wilco, like is more like, I guess that's how you describe it.
Well, it's not a fun or vibrant really sounding album. It's
more melancholic.
Yeah, it's melancholic, and it's like, you know,
in vein of like Neutral Milk Hotel. Like big time.
Yeah, I was avoiding saying that because I have, I don't. I mean, there's only so many artists that I listen to that I can draw comparisons to. I think Wilco reminds me of a lot of artists I like, but yeah, I get the Neutral Milk Hotel vibe from it, where it's very like you said, it's melancholic. It's kind of very odd and interestingly written, and it just has that kind of somber and kind of sad undertone to it. But it's still. I don't know. It's a good album. It's a good fall album. It just passes the vibe check for me, I guess. I really liked it. I think I'm going to really like it as I dive more into it.
Yeah.
Very, very highly acclaimed album also. I mean, I'm assuming you know that, but I had this one on my personal list just of indie rock essentials as I get into that more. I've been wanting to hear this one, so I'm glad we got to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, like I pulled up like a little bit of history. So It's they co-released this with a documentary about like their trials and like I guess like their conflicts.
Okay, like within the band, you mean?
Yeah, it's like a documentary. So it's called "I'm Trying to Break Your Heart," which is the first song on the album.
First song, yeah,
documentary
good song.
is called. Yeah, but like it's like so that was kind of cool. But they also like had a little bit of a dispute with this album. So like their original record company was Reprise Records back in like 2000, I think it was. And then they like didn't want to release this album on their label, so Wilco left for, I think it was Reprise Records or no, None Such Records, which actually is None Such Records released a lot of Black Keys records.
So, okay.
So I don't know if Wilco's still under None Such, but when like their stuff gets re-released from that era, I follow like None Such on like all of their media, like
yeah, because Black Keys.
A big Black Keys fan, and that's how like, I still kind of keep in like how I knew about the deluxe album and like all that kind of stuff was like through None Such Instagram, and like I just was doing a little research here. I was just like, oh, I didn't know about the Reprise Records, which I think Reprise also did a Black Keys record, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like they're still making music to the day. They released a 2022 album.
Yeah, Wilco?
Wilco, yeah. Under a different record label than the None Such or the Reprise Records, but
yeah,
I didn't obviously I didn't know about any of the history.
No, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like it's one of those albums that are like, when you look into it a little bit, it has like a little bit of history to it, almost like a Yankee Hotel, like in an airplane over the sea. Like you kind of get like a little bit of like, oh, what was going on in the band during this time period? You know?
Yeah, that album obviously has a lot of history, and that's how you get those unique sounding. You know, it's not like it doesn't sound like anything else. I guess that's especially true of In the Airplane Over the Sea, and I think this album has some qualities of that don't really sound like anything else, at least at the time. So,
yeah,
it's an interesting listen. I had high expectations. I would say it did deliver, and I would say that I will continue to listen to this one and probably get more into it, and probably get really into it because I really liked it. I don't get a chance to fully dissect it or really. Yeah. But Jesus, etc., Heavy Metal Drummer, Pot Kettle Black, those are all amazing songs. So
yeah, those are
so we were talking earlier, their top songs, Wilco's top songs regardless of album, are Jesus, etc., and Heavy Metal Drummer. So those being our favorite is kind of like, you know,
I agree, those are my favorite as well.
Yeah, right. So I mean, go listen to those, I guess.
Like it's on my playlist again right now. It's all over like both, like I think it's over like the two main playlists I listen to right now.
Yeah,
it's a good song.
Yeah,
it's just like it's like a little out there, like chord progressions and like all of the kind of weird, like just like slight distortions or reverbs or whatever you want to call it. But it's good. Like it's good. It's good music. It's good like indie rock, and you almost could like stereotype this band as like your
like the indie rock band,
your nerdy indie rock band, like
totally
not math rock where it's like super like, oh, what you're doing like weird shit, like
like specific chords and progressions and stuff.
I would throw them in with like Car Seat Headrest, if I'm being honest with you, with like cultural influence, where they fit in like the indie sphere, which is good, like Wilco. But like I think the people that are turned off by like Car Seat Headrest 2 will be surprised at the difference in Wilco, just because I say that like they do fall in with Car Seat Headrest. You're probably going to hear something more elaborate and almost like symphonic to, especially this album. It's like they have a lot of different melodic things going on that you'll be surprised, and maybe you're not an indie rock person and you might think it's cool. Like you might like folk. Like I know you like more folk.
I do.
And this album kind of fits in with a folk.
Has elements. There's a lot of like acoustic guitar going on and stuff like that, just sonically. So
yeah, it's a good album to like kind of relax to, or like kind of like get melancholic and
into it. You know? We definitely recommend Jesus, etc. Obviously, we talked about that one a bunch.
That's a good listen. Heavy metal drummer. I recommend those 2 songs.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree
when it comes to it, but I think we both agree that those two songs on the album are like good. And I think the opening and closing songs will surprise you too, because they're the longest songs on the album. But
yeah,
I think when I went back and I listened to it, I was like very like, oh, like this is cool. Like this sounds kind of different.
Yeah, so, yeah. It's as far as like you were saying, if you're not an indie rock person, I don't really know. I mean, I can't remember a time before I listened to music like this, so I don't remember what my reaction would have been like. But I don't know if this is like the best starting place, because although it has a lot of the elements that you would be getting in this genre, it also is like super, like you said, like I don't know what the word is, because it is not like math rock, like you said, but it's super like specific stuff, stuff that like you might not be used to. I mean, definitely for me, there was some interesting sounds going on. I wish I had better like specific examples, but I still would give the album a shot, because
well, but I think that could be a good bridge into
it's true,
people that may not be used to indie rock or don't.
Because it's stuff that you're going to hear in a lot of albums like this. It's like,
but it's its own thing at the same time.
Yeah, it's that kind of like uncomfortable sound that you get from like a Radiohead or a Neutral Milk Hotel. That stuff that kind of like,
Radiohead
maybe makes your skin crawl. Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of Radiohead comparisons on here, but
I didn't even think about that, but big time Radiohead.
Yeah, even if you've never even heard Radiohead, even if you've just heard Creep, like I hear a lot of that song in
without
this album,
the heaviness,
like the way it's delivered.
Without the heaviness.
Yeah, well, it's not so in your face with the heaviness.
I would say it's a perfect mix between Radiohead and Neutral Milk Hotel, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I literally wrote in my notes that it reminds me of Neutral Milk Hotel. And I said that Wilco checks a lot of boxes for me. They remind me of a lot of my favorite artists, and they seem like a band that I definitely want to check out, because they have all these great factors and kind of merge them into a new thing. And I really enjoyed it.
For sure. Yeah, you should definitely get into them. Like,
I can see myself 100%. Yeah. I want to re-listen to this album right now, just talking about it. So probably gonna do that sooner rather than later.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to move into Blonde?
Yeah, okay. I would love to.
I'm going to take it a little bit. So I found a lot of similarities when I listened to this Wilco album and Blonde for some reason. The energy vibe that I got from some of the songs on Blonde were a lot like the opening and closing of this album of Yankee
Hotel Foxtrot. Yeah.
Go into that a little. Okay, so songs like Rosario Gave Me Blonde by Frank Ocean. It's like the antithesis of the more modern indie hip hop scene, I guess you could say.
It's like Blonde is, without stepping on Riley's feet too much and going into a huge monologue, Blonde is 100% an essential album, because it is an R&B soul album with like hip hop elements. But it's also just done in a way that's not really like anything else, which I think is where he gets the indie part of it from, because it's like it's not an indie record.
Because of the people that listen to it too. I'm like, you make fun of indie people, or like you may not like indie people or indie like music, but I'm like, I listen to basically the same stuff, and you're basically the same.
It is basically the same thing. R&B. Yeah. So what Blonde is in the hip hop R&B soul culture is really what, like, I don't know, the essential indie album. I guess it is probably in the Airplane Over the Sea, or maybe even like a Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. But yeah, I mean, Blonde is one of my favorites ever. One of the most popular albums of the last 10 years. So
yeah.
Not exactly a hot take, but continue your comparison, and I'll get more into why I love the album later.
This album I listened to way back. Like, I mean, probably when it first dropped. Yeah. Like, I was one of those kids when this came out in 2016. Yeah, I was like perfect. time for that, like middle school, like early high school, like whatever. I listened to
this Blonde. Would never have been something I listened to back then, by the way.
Oh no, I listened to Blonde. I was like definitely listening to Solo and all this kind of stuff, like, but it was also like not my thing back then, and it like I only liked this album back in the day because look at me saying back in the day is like 6 years ago, whatever.
Back in the day
was
6 years is a long time. When I mean that's
over
like,
half a decade.
It's like a quarter of your life to this point.
That's true. But I think this still kind of stands. But my favorite song on the album doesn't have Frank Ocean on it. It's the one. It's Solo Reprise.
Facebook story. Wow. Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Oh yeah. I guess you could do that. No, he's on it. He's the distorted voice in the beginning.
Oh, true. Okay. Yeah. Well, Solo Reprise. Yeah. That's an insane song. You can.
Oh my god. Okay, so we can kind of get in that, but I'm gonna like still kind of chat a bit about it. But like, I think like, okay, so my sister loves Frank Ocean now. She is like the kid that is like, when's Frank Ocean gonna drop? When's Frank Ocean gonna drop? She always lets me know, Rye, Frank Ocean's gonna drop. Like, I'm like, no, he's not.
And when he does, we're talking about it on Classic Mix. I'll get your sister in to talk about it.
Oh yeah. I almost thought about bringing her on today because I don't know shit to talk about. Like, I really don't know. She could probably talk about this for hours.
Yeah, me and her could have a good conversation. That'd be a podcast episode. I wrote pages.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not gonna read it all.
I'm gonna kind of go to this one. I kind of want to go down the list because like I think my takes are kind of controversial. This is like the first like 5 songs I don't like at all. Like even Ivy. Like I used to like Ivy, but now it's like come on, it's like so overplayed and like I'm like, okay, I've heard this song.
Yeah,
it kind of and it's not even like in my opinion as good of a song as you think. Which it's a song, but it's not a Ivy streams on Spotify worth of music.
Ivy is the like perfect beginner song for Franco. So I guess I'll give my short history with Blonde. I did not listen to it when it dropped. I mentioned this would not be the type of thing that I would be into 2016 me at all. This I first listened to it probably about a year and a half ago because it was like late summer when I heard it. So it'd be like, maybe a year and 4 months ago. When I was getting really more into music outside of my comfort zone, I guess, even though this album fits right into my comfort zone nowadays. But when I first heard it, I thought it wasn't all that. Obviously I see it everywhere hailed as one of the greatest pieces of music ever. My favorite songs were the ones that are everyone's favorite songs, Ivy and Nights, which I still think are amazing songs. Maybe Ivy not so much, Nights definitely. But I think Ivy is one of the more basic tracks on this album. But I get the reason that it's so hailed because it is one of the least Blonde songs on Blonde. And what I mean by that is Blonde has a lot of moments of distortion and vocal layering and stuff like that where Ivy really is just a straight up good song. I mean, it's amazing vocal performance, but it doesn't really have anything extracurricular going on. So that maybe is why it's slid down my rankings personally.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Same thing for like Pink and White also, which comes right after on the track list. It's a good song, but the real meat of this album comes later, I think. I don't know if that was intentional or if that's just how it worked out over time. But
I do think Solo to Solo Reprise is like one of my favorite 6-song chunks ever.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
From saying, but all the other songs on the album, I think fall way under that bar.
Okay.
So like, because I was listening to when I listened to the album, like getting it going from Pink to White, good song. It's like probably I think one of his most popular songs.
Yep.
And Be Yourself, whatever. It's an
interlude. Yeah. It adds to the, I guess, narrative if there is one, but it's whatever. Yeah.
It's cool. You get the point. Like it's
man, I don't want to spend too much time on Be Yourself, but I did just write in my notes. I just wrote that I like the inclusion of these little interlude skits. This is the first of a few.
I think
some people probably don't like the inclusion of them. I do.
I don't. I didn't care. I think that's part of the album, especially when we're like listening to these whole albums and breaking them down. I think those should be taken into account as well. But I mean, Solo, a great song. Probably one of my favorite Frank Ocean songs forever.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite part of the song was like, and that's a solo. Like literally just him saying like
the simple,
because he like that's just like it's the least one of the least distorted songs on the album.
Yep,
it's very like simple. It's very like almost like a basically like what he describes in the song is like what you feel when you're like that's when I'm listening to that song. I feel like that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's like it's really moving.
Dirty dancing, whatever, like all that kind of stuff. Like
it's really moving. That cadence that he has. So you have the instrumental kind of with that rising quality to it. You know, where the tone's kind of going up and up. I don't know what the technical terms are for these things, but and then you have his cadence with the delivery of the words, like kind of speeding up and matching that. And then once you get into the chorus, it's just like a lights out vocal performance from Frank. I mean, even if you don't like hail the album like everyone else does, I think we can both admit that he is one of the greatest vocalists, at least in modern times.
Yeah, his voice is insane, but
he has an amazing voice.
I don't understand a lot of the distortion stuff. If like, I think a lot of the songs get hurt by that, and I think a lot of people like it. I just don't.
I didn't care for it at all. Well, okay, if we're gonna go into, I guess the distort, like the stuff like that on the album. So I mean, you start with Nikes, where the whole first half of the album, there's a filter on his voice. I'm not sure why he chose that effect. It's like I don't know why he chose to filter his voice like that.
Yeah,
but it's become iconic.
Well, yeah,
it happens a few times. It happens on Nikes.
I think is it Siegfried or
Yep, yeah. So the songs on the end, like Siegfried, Godspeed, and Future Free, those all three have moments of it, and then the chorus on Self Control.
What I liked it in Godspeed, I didn't like it in Nikes.
Okay, so I will say that I don't. It's hard for me to gauge because I used to hate it in Nikes. But I think now Nikes has become so synonymous with like, oh, the next hour is going to be one of your favorite albums ever that I just like love Nikes now. It's become like such an iconic thing. I think the vocal distortion is more of like a shock value thing, maybe just for being the intro of the album.
Oh, I think it's a sick choice. I think he's literally like, it goes with everything else on the album.
Yeah, it kind of fits like, I mean, so jumping down now from I know I'm kind of all over the place here because I'm trying to collect my thoughts, but jumping down from the first track on the album to the last track on the album, Future Free, I wrote a fucking essay about Future Free because this is probably my favorite song on the album, which is a really weird random pick, but like,
yeah, go ahead.
Just the stuff that it makes me feel is like, I don't know, but so if you remember the second half, it's a 9-minute song, it's like split in two halves. The second half is like he's doing those interviews. Like there's those interviews happening where he's like people are getting asked like, oh, what's your name? If you had like any superpower, what would it be? And like it's super distorted. It's like literally listening to radio static.
Yeah.
And I think that is to represent a theme that gets talked about on the album a lot. Probably people maybe don't realize it's the main theme of the album, but I think it is maybe like the main theme of the album is I think it's like youthfulness and the transition from youthfulness, like with growing up and just the complication of life and stuff. I mean, because you have lyrics all over the album, you know, namely on Ivy is probably the most famous one where he says like, we'll never be those kids again. And then in songs in the song Skyline 2, which is more of like an interlude also. He talks about like summer's not as long as it used to be. That's a famous line. And then that's a pretty fucking fast year that flew by is another famous line from that song.
Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot of the times in the songs like Skyline 2 and Good Guy that have these kind of moments like that where it's kind of introspective, he has that distortion voice filter.
Right.
So I just drew a parallel between that and the end of Future of Free, where it's a bunch of kids talking and they just are happy. And I don't know, everything's kind of just simple. They're talking about superpowers and stuff. So I guess that kind of staticky distortion represents the fleeting nature of that.
And I think that goes, I think even Be Yourself is kind of indicative of that as well, because it's his mom, right? That's talking.
Yeah, it's his mom talking to him. Yep.
And she's just like, don't do drugs, don't drink and drive.
Yeah. Don't smoke marijuana.
Well, and I think it's kind of like that song is a good example of what you're talking about, because it talks about those worries that your parents always, like at least a responsible parent would be like, hey, like, don't drink, don't smoke.
Right. As you're growing up, that's things your parents tell you.
And then, but it's almost like as you grow old, your parents still have those concerns. Like,
right.
As you grow old and like you can make those decisions on your own, and like, even when you become legal age to do those kind of things, like, except for drinking and driving, it's not okay, but
don't
like
drink
drinking,
and drive,
smoking, and that kind of thing, like your parents see you that way, like they still see you as a kid, so they're gonna be like, okay, be safe, right. Like, don't drink, don't smoke, don't get in the car if someone's fucked up, like. And I think that's indicative of what you said. I mean, I didn't look at the album in that way at all. I was listening to the album, definitely being like,
yeah. I mean, that comes off of like, I've probably heard this album like 30 or more times. That comes off of just doing that over and over again. That I picked up a lot of elements of just. I mean, most people think, oh, Blonde, sad album. That's my go-to sad album. But like, I guess you don't really go into why. I mean, of course, he talks about like heartbreak and stuff like that. But I think the nature of that heartbreak comes from, he talks about growing up a lot on this album, and the years are flying by, and stuff is not like how it used to be. You used to have a good thing going, and now you grow up, things change. Like, yeah, and
I think that's cool too, because like I think he kind of captures that on songs that aren't even about growing up, like even Facebook Story. Like the second half of Facebook Story, where it's like the guy talking about how it was like his girlfriend and like they got Facebook, and then she like
stopped wanted him to follow. Yeah, he didn't follow.
And he was like, "Why? I can see you." And I think that's just kind of like a chain. I don't think it's supposed to mean a literal like thing. I don't think it's supposed to be like, don't go on Facebook. Like, it's more of like,
right. It's a symbolic thing.
Like, as times change, people change. Like, like it's very like,
yeah.
So
that's interesting. You picked that up from that. So for Facebook's, I wrote at least one note for every song on this album just because I felt like it. For Facebook Story, I wrote, a lot of people hate this song and don't understand its inclusion. I'm not going to argue for or against it, but I do think it's pretty funny. That's all I've ever gotten from Facebook Story. So you saying that, I guess, kind of makes me look at it a different way. Like how I was saying, like, times are changing. Now we have Facebook and all sorts of things.
I only got stuck on that song because I didn't like Pretty Sweet.
Yeah, and most people don't. It's Pretty Sweet is like pure chaos. It's not sonically pleasing. I was very
like,
all.
Okay, like, and then like Facebook Stories kind of like shitty too. Like, okay, the beginning.
It is. No, I don't.
All the songs are good, but it's just like I don't get it. Like,
I mean, most people hate Facebook Story though, and don't really get it. And Pretty Sweet.
But I like listened to the Facebook Story, and like I don't know, like I related to the guy talking about it, because like I don't use social media to connect with people. Like I really like I use like maybe Snapchat to message my friends and stuff.
Yeah,
but over Instagram and like TikTok,
mostly for entertainment,
Facebook and Twitter. Like it's for I don't like if I had to keep a relationship over Instagram or like TikTok or Twitter or something, I couldn't. I'd be so bad because my mind doesn't go there. Like I want to be physically with someone,
right?
I like with my girlfriend. I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, when's the next time when can I see her? Like,
because you want to see her in real life. I mean,
each other, and like she sends me TikToks, but
that's not a relationship. That's
even calling and texting. It's like that's not really what it is for me until I see her. Until I like physically can see her. So like that for some reason that song kind of just like it like hit that spot of like, oh man, that's exactly how I feel.
I've always found it interesting. A lot of people hate it. I'm kind of surprised we spent like so much time. Not that we spent a long time, but just most people just disregard it and pretend it's not there. Yeah. I think all of the kind of interlude / skit / really short songs are overlooked. I mean, Skyline 2, I already talked about. I think Skyline 2 is actually great. Probably maybe the most underrated songs. I mean, it seems like so uneventful, but
it flows into Self-Control really well, and
it's essential for it to be there. And
I didn't even realize it was 3 separate songs. Like I knew Solo ended, but then going from Skyline 2 to
Self-Control,
that they were 2 separate songs. Like I was like listening to it on a walk to class, and it was like I was like, oh, I missed a song. Like I didn't even think about what this song said.
Yeah, it flows so well, and it's
it was
well written. Yeah, speaking of Self-Control, since that's where we're headed right now on the track list going down. One of my favorite songs, maybe ever, probably I know I already just said Future of Free is my favorite song on the album. I guess for practical listening, I think this is my favorite song on the album. Future of Free is more of a artistic thing that I really like about it, but this is like the song that I've played the most on the album for sure. It's like contagiously catchy. I mean, it's just a perfect song for me. The lyrics and the voice filter in the chorus, like everything about it like brings a tear to my eye. Like it's
good.
A perfect song to me.
I didn't even think about this song being that good. Like I think this is one of the songs I would hear in my sister's room. Like if she was like playing music and like I was walking by, I'm like, oh man, I feel like I know this song, but but
you can't put your finger on it.
Back in the day, probably listened to this song, but then I'm like, I can hum it, but then I listen to it, I'm like, damn, this is the song that I'm like, I always can know that it's a
know it, but
I never know which. Like it could be Ivy, it could be, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, it's
a lot of the songs may blend together if you're not
right.
But then I listen
to it, like, this is the song that I'm like, I've like wanted to listen to for a long time.
I love this song.
It was good, and it leads, and I think I like the Good Guy interlude as well. I kind of lumped it in with that 6 song from solo to solo, and like as a good, like I can listen to that and without skipping.
Good Guy is an interesting song. It's more of an interlude, I guess, but it's a really like raw lyrical track. Which I think is complemented well by the vocal effect and the style of the song.
Yeah. Like I didn't hate it at this spot either.
Yeah, I think this is definitely an album. I mean, of course, you have Self-Control and you have Nights, which we're about to get to, I think. Ivy, Pink and White. These are all amazing songs. But I mean, I think why this album is so hailed is it really does shine as an album. And I think it's, not to sound pretentious here, but I think it's skyrocket into popularity and into the mainstream has kind of detached it from the fact that it's still such a beautiful work of art with these carefully placed interludes, carefully placed vocal effects, distortion, layers on the songs, stuff that people who aren't trying to analyze it like us or people who aren't listening to the full album aren't going to pick up on. So
that's why it's so popular.
It caters to the casual listeners, and it caters to the analyzers. And I've kind of gone down the pipeline of, I really like Nights, to analyzing the vocal effect on Good Guy. It's a long pipeline, but now I'm at the end of it because that's how good this album is. So
it's really funny when my sister's like telling my mom about Blonde, and I'm like, and my mom's like, yeah, your brother like has brought this up, you know. Like, it's kind of funny.
Deja vu for your mom,
or like you know, she'll be like listening to music like in the bathroom, like getting ready for the day or something, and I'll be like home for the weekend, and I'll be like, damn, I used to play solo like when I was getting ready for school and like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's funny.
So
I send music to my younger siblings too.
But I think that's like that's really good when an album's like transcending kind of more like
it's lasted. I mean, generations, like you to your younger sisters in a generation. But I guess, you know, in modern times,
I'm 4 years younger than her or older than her. So.
Right. So, I mean, in modern times, like in how music is like, okay, let's say this is going off on a bit of a tangent, but I think one of the reasons this album is so hailed and so considered so essential is that it has stood the test of time for the modern era. You know, the test of time used to be lasting decades. Right.
Still, like, I think
in the modern era, I mean, there's so many. And there's so many albums that came out in 2016 that are already swept under the rug and forgotten about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but those aren't good albums. This is a good album.
Right. So it has stood the test of time. I mean, there's albums from 2022 that already were popular and are no one cares about anymore because that's just how media is consumed these days. So for an album like this to come out in the modern era and to transcend that and be relevant for going on 7 years, I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah. No, it's
a testament to
the
masterpieces.
Frank Ocean never drops another album, which it's very likely that he won't, because
it's looking that way.
Why would he drop another album? You know, like in my head.
I mean, it's almost impossible to top this.
Well, he just doesn't. He doesn't.
He has no incentive. Yeah.
Yeah. He does. He's not in that spot where he needs to make music. You know, it's doing other things. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
which good for him, man.
It's gonna always live his best life. It's gonna be always listened to, but it's also I think it'll always have the status of underground as well, just because of the sound.
It's kind of like pretentious, kind of music nerd album.
Yeah, but it'll always, no matter who holds on to it and reviews it and like thinks it talks about how it's so good and so iconic, that it'll always kind of be this underground album, and that's the beauty of it, because of the sound, because of the guy singing it, how kind of eccentric he is. It's almost like a Doom or like
it's in that category, yeah.
Right, where
or like Jesus, something like that, where it's Kanye West and he's famous, but like it's unique and it's like something that, you know,
or
music nerds like
In an Aeroplane Over the Sea. I know we always bring that up, but
that's why it's one of the greatest albums ever.
Popular like among people that like that type of music, but it'll always be an underground album, just based on the sound, based on the people, based on the history of the band. Same thing with Frank Ocean. He's like a icon. People that know Frank Ocean will always know Frank Ocean, and like even for generations that, you know, probably were like 6 when this album came out, that are listening to it now, that are like 12 and like going into middle school and stuff.
It's like us listening to Doom.
Album, and I'm like, you were like a little baby when this came out.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like us listening to Mad Villainy. Like we were 2 years old when it came out, but like, we still recognize it as one of the best albums of all time. I mean, that's like, thank God for streaming services. You know what I mean? I think it's, I think it's an underrated thing to be able to have almost the entire library of music ever released at your fingertips. Because I mean, how would you have listened to old music in the past? You have to get your hands on like an old vinyl or an old CD. Yeah, but like that's way less practical.
I was into old stuff before I had Spotify and iTunes and all that. So
I mean, I was, but I mean, I didn't listen to physical. I mean, I didn't really start listening to music like that until I got Apple Music, which was in like 8th grade or something. So I mean, I listened to CDs and shit, but like it's not as accessible. So you know,
I had vinyl collections forever. Like
I bet you did.
Yeah, I love vinyl.
Yeah, I don't know where to like put it. Like literally, that's like one reason I don't have vinyl.
Mine's not at school. I've stopped collecting since I've been in college. Like
a
couple years I have not.
And I also don't have a record player, obviously. And I know a lot of people who collect. You know who you are if you're listening to this, by the way. Who collect the vinyl but don't have a record player, and I'm like,
what?
You just collect it to have it. You don't listen to it. Yeah, no, it's a true story.
Every bad boy that I have is played at least once.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's like super rare and like you can't open it or something. But that's I don't know. I see the Forever Story vinyl going on sale and like everyone like freaking out, and I'm like, I don't really care about vinyl, but like feels like I should, like I want to, but I also don't want to buy a record player or stuff like that. So
I keep my Black Keys collection updated. I have every vinyl. I have like one deluxe album.
That's cool. That's a lot of albums too. They don't have a small discography.
Yeah, I'll count. You can keep talking.
I don't really have anything to say except for Blonde is amazing. You should listen to Blonde. Blonde makes you want to cry. I hope Frank Ocean drops again, but if he doesn't, I hope he's living his best life. If you're not watching on YouTube right now, Riley is struggling to count on his fingers.
12.
Albums. 12. That's a fucking lot for vinyl. That's cool though.
Yeah.
What do you? What? Go ahead.
Oh no, it's a story about a vinyl. So The first Black Keys record was released in 2002, and that's the year I was born. So I've always wanted to get an original pressing of The Big Come Up by the Black Keys, just to have as like a fun thing. And my mom was like going to get it for me as like a Christmas gift, and I didn't know. And so a couple years ago, she bought it, and she's like, "Oh, is it an original pressing?" And it was not. It was like literally like a brand new like album.
Okay.
And she's like, "I paid $50 for this thing. It's shipped all the way from Germany." Turns out she just bought a copy from a place in Germany that made her pay $50 to ship it out.
It's like a fake pressing.
No, it was a real album. It just wasn't a first pressing. It was a regular. It was like a $20 album, but because of shipping and handling and them getting it and sending it out, because it costs so much for them to get in Germany, they have to send it back out to the U.S. It's like, costing her like $50. Unfortunate. No, and I'm still looking for that original press of The Big Come Up by Black Keys. Long story short.
That would be a cool thing to have. I was going to bring it back a little bit and just ask you what your favorite 3 tracks run are. I know you said kind of a big run that you like, but if you had to narrow it down to 3.
White Ferrari, Siegfried, and Godspeed. If I had to do this.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm glad you picked those 3.
It wouldn't be part of the 6th run. It wouldn't be part because if I'm going to go back to my 6th run solo, Skyline 2, Self-Control, nah. Skyline 2, Self-Control, Good Guy, nah. Self-Control, Good Guy, Nights, nah. Like maybe
there's not really a strong 3 run in there.
Not Pretty Sweet, Facebook story, Close to You, but I would definitely say if I had to listen to 3 songs in a row, White Ferrari, Siegfried, and Godspeed. That's a nice.
I'm glad you picked that. That's a respectable choice. Mine is probably replace White Ferrari with Future of Free, because I was going to talk about Future of Free a little more. That's why I asked the question. I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think I said earlier that I think Skyline 2 is one of the most underrated. I think Future of Free is probably the single most underrated song on Blonde, and I could write an essay about the way the song makes me feel, but yeah, I think so it's kind of a 3-part song. There's the song part and then the interview part, which I talked about, and then the song part, it kind of has 2 parts where it's like Nike's, where one part is filtered and one part is just normal. And I think the both parts of that just do so much. It has the right touch of distortion in the beginning to kind of give you that feel, and I guess like for me, it makes me feel like I'm grounded in like the world of Blonde, because so many songs have that vocal effect and that distortion that it makes it feel perfect as an ending track. And then the second part is just a catchy and amazing song. And it has a ton of emotional power, and I was tearing up as I wrote these notes, and I was tweeting about it. I think like those last 3 songs on Blonde have like more emotional power than like any other 3-track run that you could think of for the most part. And I already said I love the inclusion of the interview on the end. I think it's a good way to merge, I guess, the story of Blonde with the real world.
Right.
And again, bring up the themes of, the innocence of youth and the fleeting nature of that. And I said that perhaps the dreamlike distortion symbolizes the unachievable nature of the childlike state. And I said it's an absolutely unreal way to end the album. And I also noted that my Twitter bio for a very long time has been "How far is a light year," which is the last sentence of Blonde. And I don't know why, it just seems significant to me, but
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it just seems it's just an indicative song of the whole album. It has the blondiness to it, where you have that distortion and the vocal layering and the little vocal sample in the back with Frank's amazing vocals on top, and then you have like a random skit tacked onto the end. But the random skit means so much. It's like, it's just great.
Great. I mean, okay, so I don't know if you guys can pick up on this, but this is an album that is a definite must listen to if you haven't. I feel like a lot of people that are listening have listened to Blonde. If you are a music nerd like us, it's like a quintessential music nerd album, just like
absolutely.
Everybody and their mom loves Blonde. But if you haven't listened to it, it's a good listen. It's fun. It's different.
Yeah, it took me a few listens. I mean, you hear me praising it so highly. I mean, it's in my personal favorites of all time. It's probably creeping up into the top 10 or 15.
Right.
When I first heard it, I wasn't that into it. I was like, why do I need this when I have Pinkerton by Weezer? Like,
which is an awesome album.
Which is in my top 10 of all time.
Is an awesome album.
I'm not hating on it. I think it's better than Blonde, but now I realize that I need both.
That's controversial.
Yeah, probably. Not between us. I mean, we should talk about Pinkerton on an episode one day.
Pinkerton is one of the best albums of all time.
Yeah, it is. It's in my top.
It's up there with like Dark Side of the Moon, but by Pink Floyd. Like, I'm sorry, you people are gonna hate they hate Weezer or whatever.
They hate Weezer. They do.
I hate Weezer.
They do.
Pinkerton is an amazing album.
It's not only better than the Blue Album, it's better than almost every album ever created in the history of mankind. Almost. There's a couple that are better. But
there's a couple that kind of.
Yeah, but I was kind of like a contrarian in the beginning to like, oh, everyone loves this album so much, I'm not going to listen to it. Similar to how I was with Air in the Airplane Over the Sea. I told that story more in depth in episode 1.
Yeah.
But then, I finally got around to it, and I'm like, yeah, it's not all that, but man, is it infectious once you start getting into it. And
oh yeah,
yeah.
That's why I'm glad you told me to listen to this album all the way through, because like
it needed to be done.
A lot of points annoyed me, but it's the songs that I haven't listened to, and I'm like, oh, this is why I've never.
And you came out enjoying, yeah.
Because I just don't like the type of distortion and the type of like sampling that's in it. Like, that's just my preference.
Yeah, it's definitely it's so genre-wise, it's considered a neo soul album. I don't really know what that means. It's just, but it's not going to be for everybody. But one thing about Blonde is that it's super revered in the hip hop community. So if you're a rap fan, and let's say you're
and you got Andre.
Yeah, you had Andre 3000 verse, and you have a very hip hop adjacent sound. You got a lot of hi hat and 808 like drum usage in here.
Yeah,
which I think is why it's such a good bridge from the hip hop to the non hip hop. So, yeah, I mean, I doubt that we have any listeners who are purely hip hop just based on the episodes we've done. But if you are out there, I'm just saying, if you're out there and you haven't broadened your horizons yet, that's what Classic Mix-Up is for. So if this is your first time listening, we link the music in the description of whatever website you're using. They all have descriptions. I link the music, so check it out. Broaden your horizons. I think this is a great album to do that if you're just dipping your toes in the music nerdiness of it all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think every album that we kind of review is kind of like music nerdy in a way.
It is, yeah. Yeah, we haven't done like pretty much is. We did like Hiding Places, which is obviously in the Airplane Over the Sea. So
yeah,
I guess we're giving you guys the pipeline to go from a normal person to I guess we could have started with Blonde for that matter, but that's not really what we're.
Nah.
We do our own thing here. We kind of mess around.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about all I have to say about Blonde. It's one of the best ever. It's just go listen.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's all I have to say too. Great album. Glad I listened to all of it. Just some parts annoyed me, but
couple of great albums.
Yeah, the Wilco album's great too.
It's good. Yeah,
it was like.
Yeah, I need to re-listen for sure. I need to re-listen on a couple things. So I need to re-listen on that. I need to re-listen on Every Hour's $1 Gone, because I've had that fucking song Million to Me stuck in my head now since last Classic Mix-Up. So
that's why that album is so good. It just gets stuck in your head.
It does. It's a good one. We're throwing it back to episode 4
for the first time. If you're listening,
check out episode 4.
Album, listen to episode 4.
Check out episode 2. One of my personal favorite episodes we've done.
Episode 1.
Yeah, check out episode 1 too.
When you have time, it's a fun thing. We're just hanging. We're talking about.
And for that matter, show some love to episode 3 while you're at it. I mean, I don't, we didn't mention that, but go for it. Episode 3, we talked about
new music.
I guess that's a good segue. Episode 3, we talked about new music that came out on the week that we recorded that, and I think we might be doing that again. Yeah, are we doing that again?
Fun. Yep.
Yeah. So the day that you're seeing this, October 28th, a lot of music is dropping. Namely, for us, West Side Gun, Hitler Wears from S10, Babytron is dropping, Ben Reaper 3, Smino's dropping his album, which I think has a name that I don't know.
It's that's important because he's touring with JID.
He's touring with JID, which we're going to see, so gotta listen to that, of course. And then Backseat Lovers, who we both really like, is dropping their album.
I'm so glad I showed you them over the summer.
Yeah, me too. I'm so glad you showed me them too.
Revolutionary. Like,
yeah, so that would have made a fantastic classic mix-up episode, but pre-classic mix-up, Riley put me onto the Backseat Lovers, and I love that.
That was our first, like, that was proto.
Yeah, that was before the idea. That was like right before the idea for classic mix-up. Too.
I think 5 minutes after I showed you.
Yeah,
Backseat Lovers.
We're like, we need to do this every week.
The podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good times, man. Good times. But yeah, so basically next week we're gonna do a little part 2 of the new music rundown for the new stuff from October 28th. Yeah, so that's pretty exciting. Other than that, that's about it for the scheduled conversation of this episode. I know Riley's going to have some obscure underground indie music to tell me about that I'm not going to listen to, but I'm going to listen anyways. I have some things myself.
Well, actually, I feel like we kind of do a little segment after our segment. I mean, I think you said like our main segmented or whatever. Like,
yeah, we have our scheduled conversation, and yeah.
We got to talk about
we embrace the not knowing what's going on and just talking about what we listen to.
Yeah. So do you want me to start with what I've been listening to?
You can go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
I am always interested to hear because it's all you keep me guessing. You keep me on my toes.
You remember our pals in Palace, right? From a couple episodes ago.
Of course, yeah.
Great
last week we talked about So Long Forever. Yeah.
Yep. So I listened to Life After, which is their album after So Long Forever.
Mm-hmm. Not it.
Nah, a couple good songs. I think it's more like it reminded me of church music for some reason. Like almost like if you went to a new you're familiar with maybe a
non-denominational.
Like it's almost like a music
get
a non-denominational.
Yeah. It's like and I know Palace and I can see them going that way. There were some moments on So Long Forever that kind of feel like that, I guess.
Yeah. Like I think an in-house band at a non-denominational Christian church would be playing the Life After. There's a couple songs I do like, Facing the Crowd and Younger. I do recommend if anybody's going to be listening to the second Palace.
Okay.
If you like following.
Yeah, I want to check it out because I love them. So
I think it's okay. It's slower album, way slower album, different topics in the writing and all this kind of stuff. And there's still guitar and drums and that kind of thing. Where their newest album is more electronic and like electronic drums and that kind of thing, and I didn't like that. But Life After, I listened to it finally, and or all the way through at least, and
yeah,
it was all right. Like I'd recommend it. It's just not my favorite.
I listened to a disappointing album this week too. I listened to The Liz 2 by Armani Caesar, who is Griselda label member. This was a personal West Side Gun curated project, so I had pretty high hopes. I mean, you have the Benny feature and the West Side Gun feature. She did her thing, I guess. If you like that style of music, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it was all right. I recommend the West Side Gun feature song though, because I mean, obviously he can do no wrong. So. Yeah. But the album as a whole, I listened to the original album, The Liz, and I thought it was better. I don't want to say she regressed necessarily, but just I don't know. She had like Kodak Black on this album, which didn't feel right, and I just got bored of this one fast. So I listened to that, and then I listened to the Cage the Elephant album that you mentioned to me last week. I actually listened to one of the things you told me to listen to.
Yeah.
The Tell Me I'm Pretty by Cage the Elephant. And I see why you like it so much. It's executive produced by Dan from the Black Keys.
So, it is. I knew it. I knew I liked it for.
Yeah. Did you not know that until just now?
No, I didn't.
Seriously?
I liked it for a reason. No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I love Cage the Elephant, so I'm sure he's produced other stuff by them.
I'm sure he works with them a lot, but yeah, it's produced by the Black Keys, Dan Auerbach. But
the guitarist and singer Dan Auerbach. Also, I want to recommend this. Okay, I might do this in future, in a future episode. But the Arcs, Yours Dreamly, is one of my favorite albums all the time. It's
that's in our Twitter header. Go check out our Twitter. Follow our Twitter.
Yeah, Rosario keeps that going, and
I do my best. It's pretty dead, but maybe if you guys give me some followers, I'll tweet to you more.
Yeah, maybe if we had some audience participation on the Twitter, maybe we'd actually post stuff on the Twitter.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah. It's a mutual thing.
Yeah, no.
Anyways.
But yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's probably why I like KG Elephant so much.
Yeah. It was a decent album. Nothing really stuck out to me. We were gonna talk about it on the podcast at one point, but yeah, nothing really stuck out to me. But it seems like I know, but it does seem like definitely your style. Something could be my style too. I really like the song, though. The reason that I bring this up is because there was one song that I really liked above all the rest. It was called "Sweet Little Jean." That's a good song that I recommend to the people out there. So one thing I took away from that.
I also recommend "Cold, Cold, Cold."
Yeah, I think that's a track right after that on the track list.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, though that's a good little run right there.
Yeah,
that's them at their best, I think.
They have an album that I might give you eventually called Unpeeled, and it's all their live albums. And like they did the song, it's like, what is it called? Ain't No Rest for the Wicked.
Yeah, I think that's like their most famous song. Yeah.
So, but they do like a live album that's on it, and all like a lot of their early music's on it too, along with like that album with like Cold,
okay,
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Great album. Like, I'll have to recommend it to you. One of my favorite vinyls to listen to. Like everything.
Yeah. So, I like their song. Obviously basic, but I like Ain't No Rest for the Wicked's pretty good. I like Cigarette Daydreams a lot too.
So. Oh yeah. I can play that on guitar. That's kind of like my first.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
I can imagine it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it's like 3 chords, 4 chords. Yeah, dude. Okay, so damn, I've listened to a lot of music in the past week. I can't believe I felt like I could barely fit in these 2 albums to listen to this week because I've listened to so much music.
Yeah,
I listened to almost all of the Beatles discography.
Oh, okay. I can't really help you there, but you can tell me about it.
No, I just re-listen. I love the Beatles. You know, I got a Beatles tattoo.
Of course.
Grew up in the Beatles. Just like going back and like saving songs that I never really listened to in the past, like that kind of thing. But that's kind of hard to do when I listen to every song on the Beatles already. It's just kind of songs that I've like re-put in a rotation. Just a lot of like I've been really into their songs with piano. Like I've Got a Feeling. Off of Let It Be is a really good song. It has a really good piano riff done by Paul McCartney. They had that documentary series on Disney Plus about them. Just came out a few months ago, like maybe the beginning of this year, and that is so good because listening to Let It Be, which is the album that's what album they were making during the documentary series. It just hearing it again and like.
That's got to be cool. I actually had one of my teachers recommend that documentary to my class, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." Yeah, I should watch that.
Yeah, it's a good watch. Just even if you don't like the Beatles, like it's just nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I've never listened to them. I don't have anything against them.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people hate the Beatles.
They do. I think there's like a backlash thing. You know, like they're so popular that it's like.
Well, and I'm just like
I
hate telling people that I like the Beatles so much because then they're like, "Oh, guess what? I hate the Beatles," and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm gonna like I'm gonna shit and piss and fucking cry." Like I don't know.
Yeah, like you don't care.
I like the band a lot.
You don't care, yeah.
Okay, but I'm like, I know that it's not true because like, music's subjectional and like you can like whatever you want. Like I don't like fucking Machine Girl and like all that kind of shit. But like
I don't like Machine Girl either.
But people do. People love that.
I know.
Shit. People eat that shit up, like Gex and all that. Like
and Blade.
Like people love that. Drainers. I love Drainers. I don't like Blade.
Yeah, we had this conversation on episode 3. Go check it out.
So, what I'm trying to say is like, it's just like the music is good. Like you really you sit someone down and play a Beatles song that they've never heard before. And they're like, "What the fuck is this? This is really cool. Like, this sounds really good. And, like, it's Beatles."
I want to listen to it. It's just there's so many things to listen to that it's like
Oh yeah,
overall.
but they'll always be there. They'll always be there. So that's my favorite thing. Right. It's like I can always fall back on the Beatles. The song cool, "Something" by the Beatles. We were like, I had last I think Friday. I was back home with like my family, and I was like playing games with my mom, my grandma, and my girlfriend. And me and my mom were a little intoxicated, and we were singing "Something" by the Beatles. And we couldn't remember the lyrics. So while we're playing cards, like with my grandma and my girlfriend, me and my mom pulls out her phone, plays the song, and we're singing. We're like, "Oh my god, that's what it is!" And I can see my girlfriend like laugh, like smiling.
Yeah, I can see it.
She's like, "You're crazy! Like, why are you guys just drunkenly talking about Beatles lyrics?" I'm like, "This is my life."
Sounds like you, yeah.
Right. Well, that's how I was raised. My house is like that. We love the Beatles in my household.
Yeah.
Besides that though, for music, listen to Patrick Sweeney's band. So that was like music before his solo stuff.
Okay, before his solo stuff, yeah. What's that album, like?
Really good. More bluesy, more soul, slower.
Cool.
Traditional blues, like.
Okay, yeah. Probably something that I would not like better than the album I listened to.
I don't know. I think it's more. It's. You'd be surprised on how like soulful it is. Okay. Because the album's called Henry Ford Bedroom, and it's like there's this one song called Bad Luck on it, and it's like I've just got the lyric is just I've got bad luck, bad luck, bad luck, like all this kind of stuff. It's like really good, and he has just a heavy guitar, and just it's a really good album. Besides that, listen to a bunch of Turnstile. Shout out to the first album or first episode. We listened to "Glow On" by Turnstile.
To "Glow On," yeah. Rest in peace, dreams of seeing Turnstile live with Blink-182.
Yeah, because why pay $200 for?
I don't have $300 to go see some fucking washed old men and Wallows. So
and Turnstile. Well, yeah, I would be going for Wallows and Turnstile and leaving. Realistically, no, I wouldn't. But
I mean, we wouldn't. But like, yeah,
no,
I was excited when I saw them on the list that they're touring with.
Yeah,
but.
The album Nonstop Feeling's great. Recommend that. Hosier, getting a little Hosier in there always.
Yeah.
Shout out to another episode back, back a while.
First episode
Hosier.
Yeah.
System of a Down. I got into their first album a little bit this week.
Oh, that's cool. I think they're on that tour also.
No way, dude.
I think they might be.
System of a Down with Blink-182.
I might be making that up. I think they are. I'm gonna look it up.
I don't think they're touring, dude.
I don't know,
bro. I also got into Hitler Wears Hermes 7.
Yeah.
I love the song Love You, Don't Know Why, and Whoopee. Love them. Love this song. I also listened to a bunch of Hitler Wears Hermes 8.
That one is
side B. Favorite. What's the difference between side B and the regular version?
They're just different. They're just different albums. So West Side Gun. Well, so West Side.
I listened to side A, and then now I just listen to side B, which I like side B a little better. From being honest.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I think So West Side Gun considers side B like Hitler Wears Hermes 9 because tomorrow Hitler Wears Hermes 10 is coming out, but people are like, oh, what happened to Hitler Wears Hermes 9? He kind of considers it as that one. So
yeah,
that album's fucking amazing. Hell on Earth Part 2.
Free Cutter.
One of my favorite West Side Gun songs.
I fucking
Free Cutter. The Fly Who Couldn't Fly Straight with Tyler. Dude, West Side Gun and Tyler.
Oh my God, that song is so fucking good.
West Side Gun and Tyler are such an underrated duo.
I didn't know I would like that combination, man.
I can't stress this enough. You need to listen to The Fly Who Couldn't Fly Straight and 327 by West Side Gun. They are both
that's going on
incredible
my
songs. Yeah.
That is going
and then my other favorite from that is 99 Averex with Stove God Cooks. The beat on that song is fucking transcendental. It's incredible. Yeah. So I just got really excited when you said Hitler Wears Hermes 8. That's amazing album.
Such a good album. Listening to that was it. They have Trapaholics on that one.
I'm so fucking excited for Hitler Wears Hermes 10, dude.
Is that coming out on Friday?
Yeah.
That's the big one, I think. And
that's the big one for us, isn't it?
The big two are going to be Backseat Lovers and
West Side Gun. Yeah, I mean, I'm
Babytron we're gonna listen to, but I really don't.
I'm super hyped for Bin Reaper 3, but I'm not gonna be able to like really podcast.
I don't think
we're
gonna be able to break it down on the podcast. I'm sorry.
Here's your task for Bin Reaper 3. Okay, we're gonna count up the Southeast Michigan references
and say which one's the best.
Yep, and we're gonna say just the best lyrics in general, and just we'll have fun with that one because some of those lyrics.
We're already tweeting for Classic Mix-Up before we had a Twitter account too, because we went to Somerset, which is referenced in a Babytron song.
Yeah, and I tweeted the picture of the Somerset. I tweeted a picture of us at Somerset, and I put the Babytron lyric card next to it. Yeah, bitch, I damn near live in Somerset.
So for those who don't know,
Somerset King, if I'm in Troy, bitch, I'm spending something.
Yeah,
God, I love that man so much.
For those that don't know, we're listening for the first time. Babytron is a Southeast Michigan rapper. He's from Ypsilanti, which is a town outside of Detroit. But he's like
where you are right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm at school in Ypsilanti, and he designates himself as a Detroit rapper. And Rosario and I are both from the Metro Detroit area.
Yeah, so, and he shouts out like a ton of places.
Yeah, so and he'll say not like, "Oh, I'm down at 8 Mile." Like it's like, okay, we're not going down it. Like I'm sorry, I'm not going down.
He says he's got to hit Livonia.
I can like feel safe going.
Yeah, he in fucking I forget the song, but he said like I gotta hit Livonia, and like all my friends from school live in Livonia. So,
dude, the whitest neighborhood in Metro Detroit, Livonia.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, it's like close to Detroit, but it's like it's a pretty nice.
It's really rich. Livonia's rich. Like it has a lot of money, which is so funny because you take a 20-minute drive down 8 Mile, which
not even as soon as you
cross over.
As soon as you cross over Inkster, you're like in the fucking ghetto.
It is a place that you do not get out of your car.
I was driving to Livonia, like I was going, I took Van Dyke down to 696. No, yeah, so I took Van Dyke to 696, obviously from where we live. Yeah. And then 275 dropped me off at like 8 Mile or whatever. And like fucking like 6 Mile and Inkster is probably like maybe the worst intersection I've ever had to stop at a red light. I'm like, I like am gonna die.
It's not like there's nothing there. Like there's some places in Detroit when you're down there's nothing at the intersection. So you're not scared. It's just like grass.
No, there's fucking alleys and buildings.
There's
and shit.
People in I click it.
We're so white, dude. I can't believe I just told that story, but
I know.
Yeah, shout out Babytron. We're gonna count up the Southeast Michigan references.
But yeah, dude, music. That's not even the end of my music listening. So
yeah, we're just going all over the place.
New Boldy James.
This is what you pay for. What's
that?
New
Boldy James song? Did you hear it?
No.
Naturally Conspiring, dude. It's fucking. He has it on a French orchestra shit.
Really?
Listen to that shit.
Dude, I just looked it up. It came out today. I didn't know about this.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, dude.
Dude, the guy's a machine. Is he dropping that album with Dilla soon? It's not. It's not Friday, is it?
No, but I don't think the singles that are coming out are going to be on the album. I
don't think they are either because that was produced by Future Wave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, but that song is good. It's a Boldy, like pure Boldy rapping.
I'm absolutely listening to it.
Blind Melon. I got into Blind Melon. Do you know Blind Melon?
Yeah, I do actually. I
got into Blind Melon.
I forget the song by them. Since I have my phone out already, I'm gonna search them up. But
they're kind of like a grungy kind of band.
Oh yeah, No Rain. Yeah, I mean it's
No Rain.
It's a classic hit song. Yeah, it's a good song though. Yeah, they're like a old school like alt rock, right?
Yeah, the grunge.
Yeah, I've heard some of their songs.
But yeah, and then Frank Ocean.
Yeah. And Wilco.
That's it. That's all I've kind of listened to this week.
Nice.
And all over the place. Not really one thing,
Yeah. I think you were telling me that when we were texting about the show. You're like, I've been all over the place. You're like, I barely had time for our albums. But yeah, I mean, that's why I want to do the new music rundown because I'm going to be listening to all of these regardless if we talk about them on Classic Mix-Up or not. So I figure we might as well, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's about all we have for you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add?
I would just say
any words of advice for the people?
Just stay cool, stay happy, listen to some good music,
Listen to good music.
Take a minute for yourself. Especially school for me, I've been needing to do that, taking a minute for myself just to do nothing.
I feel you.
Music and play guitar.
Shit's been busy.
Maybe go thrifting or go thrifting. Yeah, that's a cool thing that I would recommend for people. Like, go find
a hobby
that's not at like Target or
that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, that's
unique to you.
Fun. Go I don't know, hug your loved ones, I guess.
Hug your loved ones. Life is precious.
Yeah, and follow us on social media.
Yeah, follow us everywhere.
We do funny things on our own, but outside of music as well. I'm always posting weird shit, and Rosario posting stuff about
God
music.
knows I'm terminally online, so
I'm not as much, but you can still catch me posting weird.
Yeah, my advice to the people is quit social media, turn off your screens.
Really?
Yeah, but if you're not gonna take my advice and quit social media, at least follow us there.
Yes. If you're gonna use the dastardly social media,
if you're gonna use the devil's,
if you're gonna be like tracked by the government, then
you might as well get the classic mix-up updates.
Listen to our stuff. Follow us.
You might as well watch a guy whose profile picture is Nick Foles holding Babytron on the Lombardi Trophy. Say funny things throughout the day.
And then mine is me.
Obviously.
And my picture is me, and my banner is the Black Keys, and my bio says peace. That's pretty much.
Yeah, you can't miss them. I'm gonna link the socials in the description. Watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify, show your friends.
Yeah,
have a blessed week.
Have a conversation with us too. That we love that stuff, man.
True.
If you follow our account and you just want to say hi or suggest us music, we look at that stuff. We're not like
we sound like we're begging, but we just like to talk.
No. We want to have conversation. We love this.
We want to grow the brand. Okay.
Well,
grow
we
the
love
brand.
music. So if anybody has suggestions or doesn't agree with us, then we'd love to, talk about it.
Yes, sir. Tell me how wrong I am about everything I said about Blonde. I would love to hear.
Or how wrong I am.
True. Yeah, he's a little more controversial than me, but. Yeah, I think that about does it for episode 5 of Classic Mix-Up.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap. So everyone do your homework. Listen to the new music that dropped tonight as you're listening to this, or last night.
Well, so 12 hours before you're listening to this, if you listen to it right when it drops.
Yep. And we'll see you next Friday at noon.
Yeah.
Have a good week.
Bye, guys.